So I am a firstborn child, and I spent most of my life thinking that I had all these high expectations placed on me, right? Makes sense. You're the firstborn, you're kind of the first experiment of parenthood. At least that's what I call my firstborn. I made most of those mistakes with my firstborn because, as with anything in life, we try, we learn, we change. Well, most people do. Anyway, so I lived most of my life with these expectations, and I thought I had to be this in order to be accepted or loved or appreciated, whatever it may be, right? I had to be this certain person. How does that happen? Well, it happens because when you're a child, you're looking in the mirror and you're just like, oh, my hair is so pretty. And then someone says, oh, you're just so conceited. And then you shrink yourself, and there goes your mask. You can't say you're beautiful. You can't think you're beautiful. You have to let that go. Then you get your nose pierced years later, and someone says, oh, you ruined your pretty little face. And so then another mask goes on, and maybe you take your nose ring out because you feel like, man, I'm not living up to someone else's expectation. But here's the thing. One, don't do things for the approval of others. Get to the point where what you're doing is because you want to do it, because you want to do it for yourself, because you want to do it for whatever reason. And maybe you're admiring your hair because you love your hair. You have good hair. Rock it on. Love it. There are far too many things in society that teach us to not like certain things, to think that, well, you know what, my cheeks are a little red here. Maybe I need some injections, or my cheeks are slinking. They're not as high as they once were. Maybe I need to go get some injections or whatever they do with your face stuff, cosmetic surgery. Now, I'm not judging people who do this, right? Do what makes you feel good and does something for you. I don't know what that is. I'm not you. I do know that I don't judge people who do these things. I am often saying I don't believe in plastic surgery, but that's for me. I can't make your choices, okay? And I have friends who have had lots of different mommy makeovers, and they seem confident, they seem beautiful, they seem happy with it. And I just pray that they continue to be happy with that, right? Because that's how we should do. We should just be happy that someone else is happy. They're not hurting us. This nose ring didn't hurt you, right? So for those who are doing these things and then they start shrinking and you put on another layer of a mask and then you put on another layer of a mask, that makes sense, right? When you're a child, people say something and you shrink back and you say, okay, I'm a child. That must be an expectation someone has of me, right? So they're not putting the expectation on you. You, especially as a child, are perceiving what they say to be an expectation. And then you now put that on yourself. But you say, oh, my parents put all these expectations on me. And quite frankly, I don't think the parents knew they were putting those expectations on you. They were just going with the flow. They were doing what the people before them did. They were doing what they thought was different or better or whatever it is, right? You can't assume their intentions because you're not in their heads and their heart. And so now you're an adult. Whatever happened, however your parents or people around you growing up, how they made you put on mask after mask, they didn't make you. You did it because you had to survive in that environment, right? You were a child. You didn't have a choice. Now you're an adult, right? And if you have children of your own, well, you probably did some damage. We all do it, right? We don't mean to. But if you don't have children yet, this is something to work on. Work on peeling off those masks and figure out, who are you, right? A lot of times I'm like, this must be what a midlife crisis looks like, except for me. It doesn't feel like a crisis. It feels like I'm removing parts of me that I created to appease people outside of me, and removing the parts of me, or not really removing, I guess I'm shedding light onto the parts of me that other people said were not acceptable. And I'm asking, does this serve me anymore? Do I want the nose ring in my nose? What does this mean for me? This happens to be something I did with my adult daughter. It means something. The tattoos on my arm, they mean something to me. I did them with my first and second born, right? So what I do has meaning, and I love my hair, and I'm going to keep looking at my hair. And believe me, there is gray all in here, and I see it, and I went, oh, you're getting old. But I don't actually think about it getting old. I'm like, you're getting wiser. Holy Tinseltown. So if you can learn to, one, accept that you're an adult now, you don't have to wear those masks. If your parents or loved ones don't accept you as you, then that is on them. That is their heart aching still, okay? You can't change that for them, but you can love them. You can accept who they are, appreciate them for where they're at, and know that you don't want to set expectations on them any more than you enjoyed them setting the expectations on you, right? So why are you turning the tables and you're saying, well, now I'm an adult and I can walk away from you unless you do X, Y, and Z. You didn't like when they did that to you, so why would you do it to them? I know it's hard. The dynamics of close family units, aunts, uncles, parents, grandparents, if you were around them like I was growing up, some of it's a little kind of interesting, let's just say. I get it. I don't share my whole world about that online because it's not worth it. It's what I want to share is the love. I want to share that these people are just as imperfect as you and me, but they're your family and they love you. And just learn that balance. Learn how you can show up in their life, where that boundary is, and stand firm in who you are. You're not 13 anymore. I used to say, and I still kind of do sometimes, I get around certain family members and I shrink back to that little 13-year-old girl, okay? And I'm blessed that finally in my 40s, I don't do it as much. I don't, which is, I recognize those things and I'm like, yes, Brandy, you did it, right? But we're all a work in progress. You're never going to be 100%. And don't get discouraged if you still have those little triggers come up because, well, I will do a lot of personal development work and I do a lot of shadow work in myself this year, especially as wicked focused on shadows. And I still have little triggers that come up, okay? It's going to happen and it's okay. Just keep putting light on it. Give yourself a hug and love those around you that show up for you. Just show up, just being there. They don't have to do anything for you, okay? And yeah, I guess my whole point is that expectations aren't necessarily placed on you. You allow them to be placed on you, right? You're saying that person said this, so that must be an expectation. I have to put a mask on and be that person around that person. I have to be this person around that person. And you just keep doing it. And then you just keep adding these layers of masks on your face until you don't even know who you are anymore. And then you're depressed and you wonder why you're depressed. It's because you're so far from the person you were created to be that you just don't even know what to do anymore. So slowly peel the layers back. I say slowly because sometimes I do too much work and God thinks I'm ready for more and all of a sudden I have dizzy spells for a few days, which my friend calls upgrades, and I have to believe that they are because of my own personal experiences. But please remember, you're an adult. You don't have to shrink yourself anymore and you don't have to be defensive. You know what? Your parents can think what they want to think. They can think your nose ring sucks. They can think your tattoos suck, and that's okay. They're allowed to. You can still love them where they're at.